Can I share this table?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
The text message arrived at 4:47 p.m., 3 minutes before everything changed. Rhett Harlan stared at his phone screen, jaw tight. His ex-wife's lawyer wanted another hearing, another chance to prove he wasn't fit, another battle he couldn't afford. He shoved the phone into his jacket pocket and looked across the small cafe table at Mira, his 8-year-old daughter. She hummed softly, purple crayon moving in careful circles across her coloring book. Her tongue poked out the corner of her mouth the way it always did when she concentrated. The afternoon light from Harborline Cafe's wide windows caught the gold in her brown curls. "Daddy, does this butterfly need yellow or orange?" Rhett's throat tightened. Moments like this, simple, pure, untouched by courtrooms and custody schedules, felt like breathing after being underwater too long. Your choice, baby girl. But before we go any further, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like the world was finally giving you a break, only to realize the storm was just getting started? Mira chose orange. She always chose orange. Rhett sipped his lukewarm coffee and watched other families scattered throughout the cafe. Couples laughing, kids running between tables. Normal people living normal lives. He used to be one of them. Before the divorce. Before the accusations. Before judges started looking at him like he was guilty of something he'd never done. The cafe door chimed. Cold December air rushed in, sharp enough to make Mira look up from her drawing. A young woman stood in the doorway, balancing on crutches. Her right leg was locked in a thick brace from her thigh down to her ankle. She wore jeans cut and re-sewn to fit over the metal framework. Her face was drawn, exhausted in a way that went deeper than missing sleep. She scanned the crowded cafe with desperate eyes. Every table was full, except theirs. Rhett felt something shift in his chest. He'd seen that look before, in his own mirror, the look of someone barely holding on. The woman's gaze landed on him, then Mira, then the two empty chairs at their table. She started moving toward them, each step careful and painful. The crutches made soft clicking sounds against the hardwood floor. Other customers glanced her way, then quickly looked away. Rhett knew that feeling too. Being seen, but not helped. She stopped at their table. Up close, Rhett could see she was probably in her early 20s. Light brown skin, dark eyes that held too much weight for someone so young. A thin scar traced along her jawline, barely visible beneath her makeup. "I'm sorry to bother you." Her voice was soft, almost musical. "Can I share this table?" Rhett hesitated. Something about her felt off. Not dangerous exactly, but heavy with trouble. His first instinct, sharpened by months of protecting Mira from chaos, was to say no. But Mira answered first. "Daddy, let her sit." The woman's eyes filled with something that looked like relief mixed with shame. Rhett pulled out a chair. Of course. She lowered herself carefully, wincing as she bent her knee. The crutches clattered slightly as she leaned them against the wall. She gripped the table edge, knuckles white, and took 3 slow breaths. "Thank you." She smoothed her hands over her jeans. "I'm Aries." "Rhett, this is Mira." Mira offered a small wave, then went back to her butterfly, now thoroughly orange. Aries ordered nothing, just sat there, staring at her folded hands like they held answers to questions she was afraid to ask. Rhett noticed her checking the door every few seconds. Quick glances, barely noticeable unless you were watching. Which he was, because something in her fear felt familiar. "What happened to your leg?" The words left his mouth before he could stop them. Aries went very still. She lifted her eyes slowly, meeting his. In that moment, Rhett saw something that made his stomach drop. Not just pain, not just fear, terror. "You really don't want to know." What would you do if a stranger sat down at your table and you could tell they were running from something they couldn't escape? Aries kept her eyes on the door. Rhett watched her fingers drum against the tabletop, a rhythm that had no pattern. Just nervous energy looking for an exit. I'm sorry. She finally looked at him. I shouldn't have sat down. I just needed somewhere. She stopped herself. Never mind. Mira slid her coloring book across the table. You can color with me if you want. Aries blinked like she'd forgotten children existed. A sad smile touched her lips. That's really sweet, but please. Mira pushed a green crayon toward her. I need help with the leaves. Something cracked in Aries' expression. She picked up the crayon with trembling fingers and started coloring. Her strokes were uneven, distracted, but Mira didn't seem to mind. Rhett leaned back, giving him space but staying alert. Whatever Aries was running from, it hadn't let her go yet. He could see it in the way her shoulders stayed rigid, the way her jaw clenched every time someone walked past their table. 3 months ago, Aries spoke suddenly, eyes still on the coloring book. That's when it happened. Rhett stayed quiet. I was crossing the street. Green light. I had the right of way. Her voice flattened, like she told this story too many times to too many people who didn't believe her. Black SUV came out of nowhere. Hit me so hard I flew 15 feet. Myra's crayon stopped moving. The driver never even slowed down. Just kept going. Rhett's chest tightened. Did they catch him? Aries laughed, but there was no humor in it. They know exactly who he is. Rich family. Expensive lawyers. Suddenly, all the traffic cameras in that area malfunctioned that day. Witnesses changed their stories. Evidence disappeared. She looked up at Rhett, and he saw the helplessness there. The same helplessness he'd felt in divorce court when his ex-wife's lawyer twisted every word he said. My doctor said I'm lucky I can still walk at all. But this brace. She tapped the metal cage around her leg. This is permanent. Or, at least until I can afford the surgery they say might help. Which I can't. Because I lost my job. Because I couldn't work. Because he destroyed my life and nobody cares. The cafe noise around them faded. Mira reached across the table and touched Aries' hand. I'm sorry that happened to you. Aries' eyes welled up. She blinked fast, trying to hold it together. Rhett felt something shift inside him. Recognition. She wasn't just hurt. She was trapped in a system designed to protect people with power. Why did you come here? He asked gently. Aries' expression changed. The fear came back, sharper this time. She glanced at the door again. I needed to get out of my apartment. I've been hiding for weeks. I wanted to feel normal for an hour. Drink coffee. Sit somewhere bright. Her voice dropped to almost a whisper. But it was stupid. I shouldn't have come. Why? Aries looked at him, and for the first time, Rhett saw pure dread. Because he comes here sometimes. Would you stay and help someone being hunted, even if it meant putting yourself in danger? The cafe door swung open. A blast of cold air cut through the warm room. Rhett felt it before he saw him. That shift in atmosphere when something predatory enters a space. A man stepped inside. Tall, maybe 6'2", wearing a charcoal coat that looked like it cost more than Rhett's car. His dark hair was slicked back, his face sharp and clean-shaven. He moved with the confidence of someone who'd never been told no. Aries went rigid. Her hand shot out and gripped Rhett's sleeve so hard her nails dug through the fabric. Oh God. The words barely made it past her lips. Oh God, oh God. Who is that? Rhett kept his voice low. Him. The man's eyes swept the cafe like a searchlight. Cold. Calculating. Looking for something specific. Looking for someone. Rhett felt Mira press against his side. She'd stopped coloring. Her small hand found his arm. Daddy. It's okay, baby. He kept his voice steady even though his pulse hammered in his throat. The man took 3 steps forward. His shoes, polished black leather, clicked against the floor with each measured movement. He scanned faces, tables, corners. His gaze was thorough, professional. Aries' breathing went shallow and fast. Don't let him see me shaking. Her words came out broken. He feeds on it. He likes knowing people are afraid. Rhett made a decision. He shifted his chair slightly to the left, just enough to block the man's line of sight to Aries. Then he leaned forward, resting his elbows on the table like he was having a casual conversation. Look at me, he told Aries quietly. Not at him. At me. She forced her eyes to his. They were wide, glassy with panic. Breathe. In through your nose, out through your mouth. She tried. Failed. Tried again. Mira, bless her heart, pushed the coloring book back toward Aries and started talking about butterflies like nothing was wrong. Her small voice was a lifeline in the tension. The man moved closer. Rhett could hear his footsteps now, deliberate and unhurried. The kind of walk that said he owned every room he entered. 4 tables away. 3. 2. Aries' hand on Rhett's sleeve was trembling, so hard he could feel it in his bones. The man stopped, right beside their table. Rhett didn't look up, didn't acknowledge him, just kept his focus on Aries and Mira, acting like they were the only 3 people in the world. But he could feel the man's presence. Cold, heavy, wrong. A shadow fell across their table. Excuse me. The man's voice was smooth, educated, but underneath it ran something cruel. Rhett finally looked up, keeping his expression neutral. The man stared down at him with eyes the color of wet stone. I'm looking for someone. A girl. Early 20s. On crutches. Leg brace. His lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Has anyone like that come in here? If someone dangerous asked you a question, and you knew the right answer could save someone's life, what would you say? Rhett held the man's gaze. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to look away, to back down, to let this predator find his prey. The same instincts that had kept him quiet in courtrooms, that had made him swallow his anger when judges ruled against him. But then he felt Myra's small hand grip his arm tighter, and Aries' fingernails digging into his sleeve like he was the only thing keeping her from drowning. No. Rhett's voice came out steady, firm. No one like that. The man's eyes narrowed slightly. He studied Rhett's face, looking for cracks, for lies, for weakness. Rhett didn't blink. The man's attention shifted to Aries, who had her head down, focusing hard on the coloring book like her life depended on it. From his angle, all he could see was the top of her head and her hands moving the crayon. Then his eyes landed on Mira. Something protective and dangerous exploded in Rhett's chest. Can I help you with something? The edge in his voice was unmistakable. The man's cold smile widened. Just looking for someone. She's been causing problems. Saying things she shouldn't. Making accusations. He tilted his head slightly. You know how it is. Some people don't know when to keep quiet. Don't know anything about that. The man leaned down, bringing his face closer to Rhett's. His cologne was expensive and suffocating. You sure? Because lying to me would be a mistake. Rhett's jaw tightened. He could feel Mira trembling against him now. Could hear Aries' breath coming too fast across the table. But he didn't move. I'm not lying. He kept his voice level, almost bored. There's no one here like you described. Now if you'll excuse us, we're trying to have a family afternoon. The word family hung in the air like a shield. For a long moment, the man just stared. Then he straightened up, adjusting his coat with slow, deliberate movements. Of course. Enjoy your afternoon. He turned and walked toward the counter, each step precise and unhurried. But before he got there, he paused, looked back over his shoulder directly at their table. His eyes locked onto Rhett's. The message was clear. This isn't over. Then he left. The door chimed. Cold air rushed in and out. Gone. Aries collapsed forward, her forehead nearly hitting the table. A sob broke from her throat, raw and desperate. Mira scrambled out of her chair and wrapped her small arms around Aries' shoulders. Rhett's hands were shaking. He pressed them flat against the table to make them stop. "Who was that?" he asked quietly. Aries lifted her head. Tears streaked her face, but her eyes held something darker now. Not just fear. Rage. Cameron DeWitt. She spit the name like poison. His father owns half the city council. His family's been here for generations. Lawyers, judges, politicians. She wiped her face roughly. 3 months ago, he hit me with his car because I was in the wrong place at the wrong time. What do you mean wrong place? Aries' laugh was bitter. I was walking home from work. I saw him and 2 other guys loading something into a car. Something heavy, wrapped in plastic. She closed her eyes. I should have kept walking. Should have pretended I didn't see anything. But I was on the phone, and I slowed down, and Cameron saw me see them. Rhett's stomach dropped. 2 weeks later, a college girl went missing. They found her body in the river. Aries' voice cracked. Cameron hit me the day before they found her, warning me to keep my mouth shut. And when I tried to tell police what I saw, suddenly there's no evidence. No witnesses. Nothing. Jesus. I've been getting threats ever since. Text messages. Calls from blocked numbers. Someone broke into my apartment and left a photo of my little sister on my kitchen table. Her hands curled into fists. So yeah, that's Cameron DeWitt. And you just lied to his face to protect me. Rhett felt the weight of what he'd just done settle over him. Mira looked up at him with wide, frightened eyes. "Daddy, is that bad man going to come back?" Before he could answer, his phone buzzed on the table. Unknown number. He picked it up. A text message loaded on the screen, and every muscle in Rhett's body went cold. You shouldn't have lied for her. What would you do if protecting a stranger meant your own child was now in danger? Aries saw the message. Her face went white. No. The word came out strangled. No, no, no. Rhett's mind raced. He scanned the cafe, looking for anyone watching them. But everyone seemed normal. Couples talking. Students on laptops. An elderly man reading the newspaper by the window. No one looked suspicious, which meant Cameron was either bluffing or someone else was watching them. "How did he get your number?" Aries whispered. Rhett didn't answer because he didn't know. He'd been careful. Always was. No social media. Unlisted address. Everything locked down tight because of the custody battle. But somehow Cameron had his number, which meant he knew who Rhett was. "We need to leave." Aries grabbed her crutches, panic making her movements jerky. "Right now. If he knows you helped me, he'll come after you." After her. She looked at Mira with desperate eyes. "I'm so sorry. I never should have sat down. I never should have." "Stop." Rhett's voice cut through her spiral. "Take a breath. You don't understand what he's capable of. I understand that running right now makes us targets." He kept his tone calm even though his heart was slamming against his ribs. "If he's watching, he wants to see us panic. Wants us scared." Mira pressed closer to his side. Rhett put his arm around her and felt her shaking. This was his fault. He'd made a choice to protect a stranger, and now his daughter was caught in whatever nightmare Aries had been living. The same daughter he was fighting to keep. The same daughter whose safety was his only job. His phone buzzed again. Another message. "She told you about the girl, didn't she?" Rhett's blood turned to ice. Aries made a sound like she'd been punched. He's listening. Her eyes went wild. He has to be. How else would he? There's no way to bug this table, Rhett said, but even as he said it, he wasn't sure. Rich people had resources, technology, ways to know things they shouldn't. A third message arrived. Tell Aries that evidence can disappear. So can people. Aries stood up so fast her chair scraped backward. She grabbed her crutches and nearly fell trying to balance. I have to go. I have to. He's going to kill me. He's going to kill all of us. Sit down. I can't. Aries. Rhett's voice was firm. Sit down. She stared at him like he was insane, but slowly, shakily, she lowered herself back into the chair. Rhett glanced at Mira. Her coloring book sat forgotten on the table, the orange butterfly only half finished. Baby, I need you to do something for me. Okay, Daddy. I need you to go to the bathroom, lock the door, and I'll come get you in 2 minutes. But, please, Mira. Something in his voice made her listen. She slid out of her chair and headed toward the restrooms in the back, walking quickly but not running. As soon as she was out of sight, Rhett leaned across the table. Tell me everything. Right now. No holding back. Aries' hands twisted together in her lap. I already told you. You told me what happened. Now tell me what you know. She hesitated. Then the words came tumbling out. The girl they found in the river. Her name was Simone Garrett. College junior. Pre-med. She was dating Cameron for 3 months before she disappeared. Aries' voice shook. I saw him and 2 guys loading something into his car that night. Something body-sized. I didn't want to think, but when they found her, I knew. Did you tell the police? Of course I did. They took my statement, acted concerned, and then nothing. A week later, I got hit by Cameron's car. The detective handling Simone's case suddenly retired. Moved to Florida. She laughed bitterly. Everyone who tries to help me either quits or disappears. Rhett processed this. A dead girl. A rich kid with connections. And Aries, the only witness who wouldn't go away. What about her family? Simone's family. They hired a private investigator. He found security footage from a building near where I saw Cameron that night. But before he could turn it over to police, his office burned down. Electrical fire, they said. Aries' eyes were hollow. Everything gone. Rhett's phone buzzed. He didn't want to look. But he did. Your daughter is beautiful. Would be a shame if something happened to her. The world tilted. Aries saw his face and knew. What did he say? Rhett couldn't speak. Couldn't breathe. He looked toward the bathroom where Mira was waiting for him. Where she was alone. He stood up so fast the table jolted. Stay here. He didn't wait for Aries to respond. Just moved through the cafe, weaving between tables. His eyes locked on the bathroom door. It was closed. He knocked. Mira. No answer. Mira. He tried the handle. Locked. His heart stopped. How far would you go to protect your child from someone who could make you both disappear? The bathroom door swung open. Mira stood there, eyes wide, her small face confused. Daddy, why are you yelling? Rhett grabbed her and pulled her into his arms so fast she gasped. His heart hammered against his ribs like it was trying to escape his chest. I'm okay, she whispered against his shoulder. You're squishing me. He loosened his grip, but didn't let go. Couldn't let go. Over Myra's head, he saw Aries watching from their table. Her face was pale, haunted. Rhett carried Mira back through the cafe, set her down gently in her chair. His hands were still shaking. Did I do something wrong? Myra's voice was small. No, baby. You did everything right. His phone sat on the table, screen dark now. But the threat was burned into his brain. Your daughter is beautiful. Would be a shame if something happened to her. Cameron wanted them scared, wanted them to know he could reach anyone, anywhere. And it was working. Rhett looked at Aries. Really looked at her. This woman who'd walked into his life 20 minutes ago and brought a monster with her. You need to go to the police. Right now. I told you they won't help. Then go to the FBI. Go to the media. Go somewhere. His voice came out harder than he meant. Because I can't protect you. I have a daughter to think about. Aries flinched like he'd slapped her. You think I don't know that? You think I wanted to drag you into this? Tears spilled down her cheeks. I came here to feel human for 1 hour. 1 single hour where I wasn't looking over my shoulder. And now you're caught in it too, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Mira reached across the table and took Aries' hand. It's okay. My daddy will help you. Rhett's chest tightened. Mira. He always helps people. She said it with such certainty, such pure faith in him. Aries looked at Rhett with desperate eyes. Outside the cafe window, a shadow moved. Rhett's attention snapped to it. A man stood on the sidewalk. Not Cameron. Someone else. Shorter, stockier, wearing a dark jacket. He was staring directly at their table, phone pressed to his ear. Their eyes met through the glass. The man smiled. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing into the late afternoon crowd. Aries saw him too. Oh God, he wasn't alone. When the person hunting you has friends everywhere, where do you run? Rhett made a choice. We're leaving. All of us. Together. Aries blinked. What? You heard me. Grab your things. He stood up, pulling Mira with him. Gathered her coloring book and crayons. Shoved them into his jacket pocket. Where are we going? Aries struggled to her feet, crutches scraping against the floor. Somewhere public. Somewhere with cameras and witnesses. He owns this city. He doesn't own everywhere. Rhett moved toward the door, keeping Mira close. Aries followed, her crutches clicking frantically as she tried to keep up. They pushed through the cafe door into cold December air. The street was busy. Cars passing. People walking. Normal city noise. But Rhett felt eyes on them. He scanned the sidewalk. The man in the dark jacket was gone, but that didn't mean they were alone. Police station is 4 blocks north, he said. They won't help. Maybe not. But Cameron can't touch us inside a police station. Not directly. Aries hesitated, then nodded. They started walking. Rhett kept one hand on Myra's shoulder, the other ready to grab his phone. Every person they passed felt like a threat. Every car slowing down felt intentional. Halfway down the second block, a black SUV pulled up beside them. Rhett's blood froze. The passenger window rolled down. Cameron sat in the driver's seat, that cold smile on his face. Red Harlan, single father, lives on Maple Street, custody battle with ex-wife Nicole. His voice was casual, like he was reading a grocery list. You've had a rough year, haven't you? Rhett kept walking, pulling Mira faster. I could make it worse. Cameron kept pace with them, the SUV crawling alongside. One phone call to the right judge. One anonymous tip about your parenting. You'd lose her. Mira whimpered. Rhett stopped walking. Looked directly at Cameron. Is that a threat? It's a fact. Cameron's smile widened. You seem like a smart man. Smart enough to know when to walk away from something that's not your problem. Aries stood frozen behind them, shaking. Rhett felt the weight of the moment pressing down on him. This man had money, power, connections. Could destroy his life with a phone call. Could take Mira away from him. Every logical part of his brain screamed at him to back down. Apologize. Walk away. But then he thought about the girl in the river. Simone Garrett, 20 years old. Someone's daughter. He thought about Aries, hunted and broken. He thought about what kind of man he wanted to be. What kind of father? No. Cameron's smile disappeared. What did you say? I said no. Rhett's voice was steady. You don't get to threaten my daughter. You don't get to threaten anyone. Not anymore. Cameron's eyes went dark. You're making a mistake. Maybe. But it's my mistake to make. For a long moment, Cameron just stared. Then he laughed. Cold. Empty. You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. A coward who hits women with his car and threatens children. Cameron's jaw tightened. The SUV's engine revved. Then he drove off, tires squealing slightly as he turned the corner. Aries exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. That was either the bravest or stupidest thing I've ever seen. Rhett's legs felt weak. Probably both. Mira tugged his hand. Daddy, I'm scared. I know, baby. Me too. His phone buzzed. He didn't want to look. But he did. You just signed your death warrant. Would you stand up to evil even if it meant losing everything? They made it to the police station. Rhett pushed through the glass doors. Mira pressed against his side. Aries limping behind them on her crutches. The lobby was fluorescent bright and cold. A desk sergeant looked up from his computer, bored expression already in place. Help you. Rhett opened his mouth, closed it. What was he supposed to say? A rich man threatened us? He has no proof. No witnesses willing to talk. Nothing but text messages from an unknown number. Aries stepped forward. I need to report a murder. That got the sergeant's attention. Who was murdered? Simone Garrett. 3 months ago. Her body was found in the river. Aries's voice shook, but she kept going. I witnessed Cameron DeWitt and 2 others loading something into his car the night she disappeared. I tried to report it, but the case was buried. And now he's threatening me. Threatening this man and his daughter. Because we... Ma'am, if you already reported this... Nobody listened. The sergeant's expression hardened. I'm going to need you to calm down. I am calm. I'm terrified. There's a difference. Rhett put a hand on her shoulder. Please. Just take our statement. Let us tell you what happened. The sergeant looked between them. At Aries on her crutches. At Mira, small and scared. At Rhett, who probably looked as desperate as he felt. Wait here. He disappeared into a back office. They waited. 5 minutes passed. 10. Rhett checked his phone. No new messages. But that somehow felt worse. Mira leaned against him, exhausted. It was past 6 now. She should be home. Should be safe. Instead, she was in a police station because her father had decided to play hero. The sergeant returned with a detective. Woman in her 40s, sharp eyes, no-nonsense expression. I'm Detective Lisa Brennan. Come with me. They followed her to a small interview room. Fluorescent lights. Metal table. Chairs that had seen better days. Detective Brennan sat down across from them. Tell me everything. So they did. Aries told her story again. The night she saw Cameron. The hit and run. The threats. Rhett told her about the cafe. The text messages. Cameron following them. Detective Brennan listened. Took notes. Her expression gave nothing away. When they finished, she set down her pen. The Simone Garrett case is closed. Ruled accidental drowning. It wasn't. I know. Detective Brennan's voice was quiet. I know what you saw. I know what you think happened. But without evidence, without witnesses willing to go on record, there's nothing I can do. Aries's face crumpled. So that's it? He just gets away with it. I didn't say that. The detective leaned forward. Cameron DeWitt has been on our radar for years. His family's connections have kept him out of trouble. But people like him always make mistakes. Eventually. How many more people have to die before eventually? Aries's voice broke. Detective Brennan didn't answer. She looked at Rhett. Take your daughter home. Keep your doors locked. If Cameron contacts you again, call me immediately. She slid a business card across the table. Rhett stared at it. That's all you can do. That's all I'm allowed to do. They left the police station with nothing. No protection. No safety. Just a business card and empty promises. Outside, the sun was setting. Shadows stretched long across the sidewalk. Aries stood on the steps, staring at nothing. I should disappear. Leave the city. Maybe then he'll leave you alone. Where would you go? Anywhere. Nowhere. She laughed bitterly. It doesn't matter. He'll find me eventually. Rhett's phone buzzed. Another message. The detective can't save you. Neither can anyone else. Last chance. Walk away. He showed it to Aries. She read it, and something in her expression changed. Not fear anymore. Something harder. I'm tired of running. What are you saying? I'm saying maybe it's time to stop hiding. Time to make him pay. When the system fails you, how far would you go to get justice yourself? Rhett drove them to his apartment. Small place. 2 bedrooms. Rent he could barely afford. But it was home. Mira fell asleep on the couch within minutes, exhausted from fear and adrenaline. Rhett covered her with a blanket and joined Aries at the kitchen table. Tell me what you're thinking. Aries stared at her hands. Simone's family. The ones who hired the private investigator. I still have their contact information. And maybe there's still evidence. Something Cameron doesn't know about. Something we can use. Rhett wanted to say no. Wanted to put his daughter to bed and pretend this day never happened. But he couldn't. Because Cameron knew where he lived. Knew about Mira. Knew everything. Walking away wouldn't save them. It would just delay the inevitable. Okay. We reach out to them. See what they know. Aries pulled out her phone with shaking hands and dialed. The call connected. Mrs. Garrett? It's Aries Vale. I'm so sorry to call so late, but I need your help. She explained everything. The cafe. Cameron's threats. The police refusing to help. Mrs. Garrett's voice came through the speaker, thick with grief. He killed my baby, and nobody cares. Nobody except you. I care. And I'm not going to let him get away with it. What do you need? The investigator you hired. Before his office burned down. Did he make copies of anything? There was a long pause. He sent me a thumb drive 2 days before the fire. Said it was backup. I never looked at it. I couldn't see what happened to Simone. Aries's eyes lit up. Where is it? Still in my house. Locked in my safe. Can we come get it? Tonight. Another pause. Yes. Come now. Before I lose my nerve. They woke Mira gently. Rhett hated dragging her into this, but leaving her alone felt worse. The drive to Mrs. Garrett's house took 20 minutes. Quiet suburban street. Big houses with perfect lawns. Mrs. Garrett met them at the door. She was thin, worn down by grief. Dark circles under her eyes. Gray streaks in her hair that probably weren't there 3 months ago. Coming quickly. Inside, the house felt frozen. Pictures of Simone everywhere. Graduation photos. Family vacations. A life stopped mid-sentence. Mrs. Garrett led them to her bedroom and opened the safe. She pulled out a small thumb drive. Everything the investigator found is on here. Security footage. Witness statements. Financial records showing Cameron's family paid people off. Aries took it with trembling hands. This could end him. Then end him. For my Simone. They were almost to the front door when headlights flooded the windows. A car pulled into the driveway. Black SUV. Rhett's stomach dropped. Cameron stepped out. But this time he wasn't alone. 2 men got out with him. Big. mean-looking. The kind of guys who hurt people for money. Mrs. Garrett went pale. How did he know? Rhett understood then. Cameron had been watching. Waiting. Probably had people watching Simone's family since the beginning. The doorbell rang. Nobody moved. It rang again. Then Cameron's voice came through the door, smooth and confident. I know you're in there, Aries. I know what you came for. A pause. And I'm not leaving until I get it. When evil comes knocking on your door, do you hide or fight back? Mira grabbed Rhett's hand. Mrs. Garrett stood frozen in her own hallway, staring at her front door like it might explode. Aries clutched the thumb drive so hard her knuckles went white. Back door, Rhett whispered. Now. They moved through the house, footsteps quiet on hardwood floors. Behind them, Cameron knocked again. Louder this time. More insistent. Mrs. Garrett led them through her kitchen to a door that opened into the backyard. Go. Run. Don't let him win. They slipped outside into cold darkness. The backyard was big, bordered by a tall wooden fence. Rhett helped Aries over first, then lifted Mira. He was climbing over when he heard Cameron's voice behind them. Going somewhere. Rhett dropped into the neighbor's yard and grabbed Myra's hand. They ran. Through yards. Between houses. Aries struggled with her crutches, gasping with pain, but she kept moving. Behind them, footsteps pounded. Cameron's men were chasing them. Rhett's car was parked 3 streets over. If they could just reach it. They burst onto a main road. Cars passed. Street lights flickered. Rhett saw his car and ran faster. They were 10 feet away when one of Cameron's men stepped out from behind a tree, blocking their path. Rhett skidded to a stop, pulling Mira behind him. The man was huge. Arms like tree trunks. Dead eyes. Give me the drive. Aries stepped forward. No. The man pulled out a gun. Mira screamed. Everything went silent. Rhett felt his whole world narrow to that gun. To Mira behind him. To the choice he had to make. Daddy, Mira whispered. The man's finger moved toward the trigger. And then police sirens cut through the night. Loud. Close. Getting closer. The man's eyes widened. He looked back toward Mrs. Garrett's house, then at them, then ran. 3 police cars screeched around the corner, lights flashing. Detective Brennan stepped out of the first one. On the ground. All of you. Cameron's men scattered. But the police were faster. Within seconds, both men were tackled. Handcuffed. Down. Detective Brennan walked over to them. Mrs. Garrett called me. Said Cameron DeWitt was at her house making threats. She looked at Aries. She also said you have evidence. Aries held up the thumb drive. Everything you need to arrest him. Detective Brennan took it carefully. We'll see. They arrested Cameron 2 hours later. Rhett, Aries, and Mira gave statements at the police station until midnight. The thumb drive contained everything. Security footage showing Cameron and 2 others carrying a body. Financial records proving his family paid off witnesses. Text messages between Cameron and the men who chased them. It was enough. More than enough. When they finally left the station, the night was quiet, peaceful. Aries stood on the sidewalk, tears streaming down her face. It's over. It's really over. Rhett put a hand on her shoulder. You're safe now. Because of you. Because you didn't walk away. Mira hugged Aries tight. You're going to be okay now. Aries smiled through her tears. Yeah, I think I am. They drove home through empty streets. Mira fell asleep in the back seat. Rhett looked at Aries in the passenger seat. What will you do now? Heal. Testify. Make sure Cameron never hurts anyone again. She paused. And maybe stop being so afraid. When they got to Rhett's apartment, Aries prepared to call a cab. Stay, Rhett said. Guest room's yours as long as you need it." She looked at him, surprise and gratitude mixing in her eyes. "Thank you." That night, after Mira was tucked in and Aries was settled in the guest room, Rhett sat alone in his kitchen. His phone buzzed. One last message. From Detective Brennan. "Cameron's bail was denied. He won't be getting out. You did good, Rhett." He let out a breath he didn't know he'd been holding. Then he looked at the photo on his phone's lock screen. Mira laughing, hair wild, eyes full of trust. He'd protected her. Protected a stranger. Done the right thing even when it was dangerous. And somehow they'd all survived. But as he sat there in the quiet darkness, a shadow moved outside his window. Just for a second. Then gone. Rhett's blood went cold. He moved to the window and looked out. The street was empty. Nothing moved. But his phone buzzed one more time. Unknown number. Cameron wasn't the only one. There are others. And they don't forget. The message disappeared as quickly as it appeared. Deleted automatically. Rhett stood frozen, staring at his blank phone screen. Somewhere in the apartment, a floorboard creaked. Myra's door opened. "Daddy." He turned. She stood in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. "I heard something." Rhett crossed to her quickly, scooped her up. "Just the house settling, baby. Go back to sleep." But as he carried her to bed, he glanced back at his phone. The screen was still black. But in the reflection, he saw another shadow move across his living room window. Watching. Waiting. Because some monsters have friends. And they never forget. If you believe in standing up for what's right, even when the world tells you to stay silent, subscribe and turn on notifications. Drop a comment sharing a time you chose courage over fear. Your story might inspire someone who needs it today. Because heroes aren't born. They're ordinary people who refuse to look away. And this world needs more of them. Don't miss the next story. They're coming for us all.